sweet revenge, and other necessary poisons. The cafeteria tray clattered onto the floor with a deafening crash, sending lukewarm chicken nuggets skittering across the linoleum like greasy, terrified beetles. A wave of raucous laughter erupted from Table 6, her table, the epicenter of the 8th grade social universe. Piper Vale stood frozen, the sticky residue of chocolate milk dripping down her faded jeans, a single perfect glob clinging to the lens of her glasses. The heat of 100 eyes burned into her skin, hotter than the spilled milk. "Whoopsie, klutz," sang Chloe Kensington, her voice dripping with saccharine malice. She flicked her perfectly straightened blonde hair over her shoulder. "Maybe you should try watching where you're going, or maybe just not going." Her court, the athletic Matt, the sly tech geek Raj, and Chloe's ever-present shadow, the anxious Harper, snickered obediently. Piper didn't look up. She knew the script. Apologize, cry, run. Any reaction was fuel. Instead, she bent down, her fingers trembling only slightly as she started picking up the scattered nuggets. Her dark, unruly curls fell forward, hiding her face, hiding the cold, hard knot forming in her chest where humiliation usually bloomed. This time it felt different, sharper, more purposeful. This wasn't the first time Chloe had orchestrated Piper's public downfall. The accidental shove into the muddy soccer field last week, the anonymous meme comparing Piper to a startled mole that circulated the school group chat, the constant whispers, the stolen homework borrowed and never returned, the way her name, Piper Vale, was always said with a sneer, twisted into Piper Fail. Months of it, a relentless, suffocating pressure that had turned her into a ghost in her own life, flinching at shadows, dreading the school bell. But something had shifted. Maybe it was the sheer predictability of the nugget ambush. Maybe it was the way Harper's laugh had sounded a little forced this time. Or maybe it was the book she'd found hidden deep in the dusty stacks of the town's Historical Society library last weekend. Domestic Chemistry and Household Alchemy, 1897. Not magic. Science. Delicious, intricate, useful science. Forgotten recipes for non-toxic dyes that stained skin for days. For invisible inks revealed by heat. For concoctions that induced inconvenient but harmless physiological reactions. As Piper dumped the salvaged nuggets into the trash, ignoring the lingering stares and Chloe's triumphant smirk, the cold knot in her chest crystallized into a plan. Not a scream, not a tear, not a desperate plea to indifferent teachers. A plan as meticulously crafted as one of the Victorian-era formulas now etched in her memory. Sweet revenge. Not swift, not loud, but slow, subtle, and utterly, devastatingly personal. They wanted Piper Fail. They'd get her. And they wouldn't see her coming until it was far too late. Phase 1. Reconnaissance and refinement. Piper became a ghost in earnest. Not the shrinking, fearful kind, but the observant, silent kind. She noted Chloe's rigid routine, her specific, expensive brand of coconut water she sipped religiously during third period English, the precise shade of peachy pink lip gloss she reapplied obsessively after lunch, her near-pathological fear of anything sticky or messy near her designer clothes. Matt lived for his status as soccer captain. His pre-game rituals were sacred, his lucky socks a talisman. Raj, the tech overlord, was cocky but brittle. His entire identity was tied to his perceived intellectual superiority and his custom-built gaming laptop. Harper was the weak link, perpetually anxious, desperate for Chloe's approval but often treated as the pack mule. Piper's bedroom, cluttered with science kits, old chemistry textbooks borrowed from the high school library, and jars of questionable substances became her laboratory. Her parents, preoccupied with work and mildly concerned but ultimately dismissive of her quiet phase, left her to it. Using precise measurements and ingredients sourced from the local health food store, the pharmacy, and even the baking aisle, she began her experiments. Safety first. Nothing lethal, nothing permanently damaging. Just profoundly inconvenient and deeply embarrassing. Psychological warfare disguised as misfortune. Her first test subject wasn't human. It was Principal Davy's prized, perpetually smug Persian cat, Mr. Whiskers, who loved to lounge imperiously on the reception desk. Piper carefully applied a tiny amount of a clear, odorless gel, a modified recipe for a mild, temporary hair relaxant, to the cat's favorite cushion. The next day, Mr. Whiskers sported an unintentional, slightly lopsided perm. The chaos in the front office, the principal's sputtering outrage, was confirmation. The formula worked. It was time. The coconut water catastrophe. Chloe's precious coconut water was her Achilles' heel. Piper watched, heart pounding but hands steady, as Chloe placed the half-finished bottle on the floor beside her bag during gym class. The locker room was chaotic, steamy, filled with shouts and slamming lockers. A moment's distraction was all Piper needed. A quick, practiced movement, a few drops from a tiny vial slipped into the bottle. The concoction was a concentrated blend of natural, potent but harmless laxatives and diuretics designed for delayed reaction. Fourth period. History. Mr. Darrow droned on about the Industrial Revolution. Chloe, looking a little pale, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. A tiny frown marred her perfect brow. Then a sudden, sharp gasp. Her hand flew to her stomach. She stood up abruptly, knocking her chair back with a clatter. "Mr. Darrow, I need to go." Her voice was tight, strained. "Now, Miss Kensington, we're in the middle of—" "Now!" Chloe practically shrieked, bolting for the door, a hand clamped firmly over her backside. A stunned silence followed, then a wave of suppressed giggles. Piper kept her eyes glued to her textbook, a small, cold smile playing on her lips. Chloe didn't return to class. Rumors flew. Food poisoning, a stomach bug. But the snickers lingered. The invincible Chloe Kensington had been brought low by her own digestive system. The first domino had fallen. Matt's meltdown. Matt's pre-game ritual was sacrosanct. He wore the same slightly faded red socks, washed only by his mother in a specific detergent, for every important match. The big game against rival Westfield Middle was the pinnacle of his 8th grade existence. Piper's plan required access to the sacred socks. This was trickier. Harper was the key. Chloe often tasked her with fetching things, carrying bags. Piper observed Harper's own small rebellion. A longing look at a book Chloe mocked, a flinch when Chloe snapped at her. Piper engineered a minor accident near the girls' bathroom, dropping a folder filled with seemingly important, but actually blank, papers. Harper, rushing on a Chloe errand, tripped. Piper was there instantly, helping gather the papers. "Ugh, thanks," Harper mumbled, flustered. "Chloe needs her math book now, of course." "Always running for her," Piper said softly, not looking at Harper. "Must be exhausting." She saw Harper's shoulders tense, a flicker of something, resentment, in her eyes. "Here, let me help." Piper deftly slipped a small, tissue-wrapped packet into Harper's open backpack as she handed her the last paper. Inside the packet, a potent contact-based irritant derived from concentrated capsaicin, chili peppers, and a binding agent. "You might want to check your bag later." Looked like something leaked. Piper walked away before Harper could process it. The leak was fictional, but the suggestion planted. Later, in the chaotic locker room before the game, Harper, flustered and rushing, would inevitably handle Matt's bag while fetching something for Chloe. The powder, invisible and odorless, only needed skin contact. Matt, pulling on his beloved red socks, felt nothing at first. Then, as he laced his cleats, a faint warmth began on his ankles. By kickoff, it was an intense, burning itch crawling up his calves. He tried to tough it out, scratching furiously during breaks in play. He fumbled a crucial save, distracted and miserable. Westfield scored, twice. The burning sensation peaked, making him hop and writhe on the field like he was on fire. The humiliation was televised on the local school sports channel. His team lost. His captaincy was questioned. The legend of Matt's Jokic meltdown was born. The second domino crashed down. Raj's digital downfall. Raj prided himself on his digital invincibility. His custom laptop, covered in glowing decals, was his fortress. Piper knew brute force hacking was beyond her. But Raj had a weakness, arrogance, and a predictable pattern. He always logged into the school's unsecured guest Wi-Fi during lunch in the computer lab to download large game files, scoffing at the primitive security. Piper spent a week meticulously crafting a digital trap, using an old laptop salvaged from the thrift store and knowledge gleaned from obscure online forums about network spoofing and phishing, purely for research, of course. She created a perfect replica of the school's login portal. It was hosted on a cheap, disposable server. Her bait? A fake link, seemingly sent from the school's IT department, an email address spoofed with surprising ease, announcing an urgent security update required for continued Wi-Fi access. The link led to her replica portal. She watched from a hidden corner of the library as Raj, munching on chips, clicked the link without a second thought. He entered his username and password into her fake portal. Gotcha. Access to his school email, cloud storage, everything. But Piper didn't want his data. She wanted spectacle. Raj was notorious for his snarky, often cruel, anonymous comments on the school's internal forum. Piper, now wearing his digital skin like a cloak, waited. The next time Chloe orchestrated a particularly nasty dig at a quiet freshman girl, Raj, as usual, piled on with a scathing anonymous post. Piper struck. Using Raj's credentials, she de-anonymized his post. Not just his username, but his full name, student ID, and a flashing, garish banner she programmed reading Official School Bully Registry. Congratulations, Raj Patel, appeared above his cruel words for the entire school forum to see. The fallout was immediate and nuclear. Raj was called to the principal's office, facing suspension for bullying and violating school IT policies. His carefully cultivated image as the cool, detached tech genius evaporated overnight. He became a pariah, exposed as the cowardly troll he was. The tech overlord was dethroned. Domino number 3. Harper's hesitation and the final act. Chloe was reeling. Her support system was crumbling. Matt was sullen and ostracized. Raj was suspended and radioactive. And Harper was acting strangely, jumpy, guilt-ridden. Piper saw her watching Chloe with new eyes, seeing the cruelty without the filter of fear. Piper needed Harper, not to hurt her, but to isolate Chloe completely. She cornered Harper in the deserted art room after school. Harper flinched. "What do you want, Piper? Come to gloat?" Harper's voice trembled. "No," Piper said calmly. "I want to show you something." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through screenshots, evidence. Chloe directing Matt to trip Piper. Chloe dictating the meme about Piper. Chloe laughing as Piper was shoved into the mud. Chloe ordering Harper to plant the stolen test answers in Piper's locker last semester. The incident that nearly got Piper expelled. You were her tool, Harper, just like Matt and Raj, but you're better than this. I see you reading To Kill a Mockingbird when she's not looking. I see you flinch when she's cruel to others. Harper stared at the evidence, tears welling. She'll destroy me. Only if you let her, Piper said. She's already losing. Matt's a joke. Raj is gone. She's weak. And she's scared. Piper leaned closer. I'm not asking you to fight her. I'm asking you to walk away, just... Stop running her errands. Stop laughing at her jokes. Sit somewhere else at lunch. Tomorrow. Harper looked terrified, but a spark of defiance ignited. What? What are you going to do to her? Piper's smile was chillingly serene. What she fears most, a grand finale, and you get to watch. Or not. Your choice. She left Harper trembling amidst the drying paintings. The sweetest dessert, Chloe's crowning moment. The annual spring fling dance was Chloe's coronation. She'd been voted queen, of course. Her dress, a blindingly white designer confection, was legendary weeks before the event. She would give a speech. She would bask in the adoration. It was her moment to reclaim her throne. Piper, clad in a simple dark blue dress bought from a discount store, watched from the shadows as Chloe ascended the stage, the glittering plastic crown perched on her perfect blonde hair. The spotlight hit her. She smiled, radiant, poised to deliver her victory speech. Piper's final act wasn't about poisons or powders. It was about perception, the most potent weapon. Weeks ago, Piper had subtly altered the school's digital photo archive. Using skills honed on Raj's downfall, she'd meticulously photoshopped dozens of pictures. Pictures of Chloe at various school events. The changes were subtle, a slightly crueler twist to her smile, a hint of smugness exaggerated, her eyes made colder. Piper then seeded these altered images back into the yearbook committee's shared drive and the school's social media groups, carefully overwriting some originals. She created anonymous accounts whispering about how photos never lie, revealing Chloe's true nature. As Chloe stood, bathed in light, the huge projector screen behind her, meant to display a montage of her best moments, flickered to life. But instead of glowing tributes, it displayed the altered images. Chloe sneering at a charity bake sale, Chloe looking viciously triumphant as Piper sat covered in mud, Chloe's eyes cold and calculating in the group shot for the school play. The crowd murmured, confused at first. Then the whispers started. Wow, she always looks kinda mean. Look at her eyes in that one. Is that really how she looked? Chloe, confused by the murmurs, turned slightly. She saw herself magnified 20 feet tall, not as the benevolent queen, but as the petty, cruel bully the photos depicted. The blood drained from her face. Her perfect composure cracked. What? What is this? Turn it off. Her voice, amplified by the microphone, held a note of pure panic. Piper, standing near the tech booth, having briefly borrowed the AV Club president's lanyard during a distraction, triggered the final sequence. The screen went black for a second. Then, in large, stark white letters, it displayed a single, devastating sentence, compiled from snippets of Chloe's own venomous texts and messages Piper had painstakingly gathered evidence of over months. Ugh, Piper Fail is such a pathetic loser. Let's make her cry again tomorrow. CK. A gasp rippled through the audience. Chloe Kensington, the Queen, stood exposed. Not by a physical attack, but by her own words, her own image, twisted just enough to reveal the ugliness beneath the gloss. The spotlight wasn't adoring anymore. It was interrogating. The crown suddenly looked cheap, ridiculous. Chloe let out a choked sob, ripped the crown from her head, and fled the stage, pushing through the stunned crowd, the blinding white dress now looking like a shroud. Epilogue. The taste of quiet. The fallout was seismic. Chloe's reign ended that night. Her carefully constructed image shattered. She became the subject of whispers, pity, and scorn. She finished the school year isolated, a ghost of her former self. Matt transferred schools. Raj kept his head down. Harper, after a period of awkwardness, tentatively sat with a different group. She even gave Piper a small, hesitant nod once. Piper Vale didn't become suddenly popular. She didn't want to. The cold knot in her chest had dissolved, replaced by a profound, quiet calm. She hadn't triumphed. She had survived. She had balanced the scales, not with fists or screams, but with patience, precision, and a deep understanding of her enemy's weaknesses. It wasn't happiness exactly. It was satisfaction, the deep, resonant satisfaction of a complex equation finally solved. Walking home from the last day of 8th grade, the summer sun warm on her shoulders, Piper stopped by the Historical Society. She returned the worn copy of Domestic Chemistry and Household Alchemy to the stern librarian. "Find what you needed, dear?" the librarian asked, peering over her glasses. Piper offered a small, genuine smile, the first unguarded one in a very long time. "Yes," she said softly, her gaze clear behind her clean glasses. "Yes, I believe I did." She walked out into the bright afternoon, the taste of sweet revenge, a fading, pleasant aftertaste, leaving only the clean, unburdened air of freedom. She was just Piper Vale now, and that was finally enough. The silence, she realized, was no longer oppressive. It was peaceful. It was hers.